Time to sound off, Husker Nation. This is your Real Red Reaction Show on Lincoln's KFOR. Call the show now at 402-489-1240.
Welcome to it. It's Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens. We're here at the Single Barrel. At least I am. YZ in studio. Elijah Herbel was. Now he's good to go. He's hunkered down. Maybe he was going to go wander in traffic. Not a lot of complaints for a second week in a row for Nebraska football. 59-7 over Houston Christian. Offense doing what they need to do. The defense, even a stalemate with the Houston Christian offense. Defense getting that scoop and a score, but a lot of things to like in the final warm-up act before Nebraska-Michigan 1 week from today. As some of the highlights airing right now, Nebraska really doing work downfield with their passing attack. The short game looked good. Run game, very solid. And for the most part, guys, the tackling pretty good. And you know what? Houston Christian, undermanned, outgunned, whatever you want to say, did get a score on a broken play. Their back is pretty talented. One of those kids that got looks from Oregon and other Power 5 schools. Showed why on a nice 45-yard broken play cutback when Nebraska had him for -2. Instead, he busts out for 45. Georgia Tech, a winner at the buzzer, much to my chagrin, as Elijah Herbel calling it correctly again. Michigan, 63. Let me get this right. 63-3 over Central Michigan. And a lot to talk about. We'll get into that. You can join us at 489-1240, 800-825-5865 for Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens, 14th and Pine Lake, 84th and Old Cheney. Get the drive-through. It's hot. It's sticky. It's gross outside. What you need is maybe a little sweetness from Slim Chickens. Observations, fellas, on the way back from the stadium here before getting set up. Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of folks that are hurting units because of the heat. Some of the older population wiped out by the sun and the heat. Some of the younger, unseasoned tailgaters were stumbling and wandering around. I also got a kick out of three old dudes or high school buddies. I call them older than me, fellas, wondering if so-and-so's daughter still worked at a bar they could get in for free. So that was kind of funny. And then a couple of Husker fans said, man, you know how many times walking out of this stadium, Nebraska found a way to lose it, and they were in disbelief, talking out loud. You've had back-to-back weeks against, opponents you should drill, but the fact is you're drilling them. And they were just conversing about how cool it was to see their football team rolling somebody. It is Judgment Day next Saturday, but you'll take 3-0, Elijah.
Yeah, first things first, let it be known I am still damn near perfect on my picks for the weekend because I had the Packers to cover plus the under on Thursday Night Football, so both of those hit. I had Georgia Tech outright. I had Bama to cover against Wisconsin. I had Nebraska winning this game 56-7. I was close, no cigar, but very, very close to a perfect pick there. Let it be known I also have Crawford winning in a decision tonight in 12 rounds. So if the hot streak continues, it'll be joy and jubilation for Husker fans tonight.
So the real true question here is, Elijah, did you get this parlay in with your friend that tends bar, or did you get down to the sports book? Bob Kitsmiller in with us on Real Red Reaction as well.
Schmidt, I don't need any monetary reward for this. My reward is just dunking on you, so I'm very happy.
Well, get your trampoline out. It's okay. We'll get our shout outs. That is true, Captain. Elijah is on fire. Kobe is in. Black Hills Brennan checking in. Kobe is ready to anoint Latif, and he does look darn good, Kobe. Big time. Jay is here. A conversation could be had on this. His foot speed is nice. Are we starting a quarterback controversy in mop-up time versus a guy that won 7 ball games as a freshman against tougher opponents? hey, both options are nice, Tim Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I wouldn't compare, but boy, he throws a nice ball. That was pretty, right down the middle, right on target. He throws a pretty ball.
Into the wind.
Both of them, the backup quarterback, that was impressive.
You could make a strong argument that TJ Lateef had the best throw of the day today.
Big time. So the best throw. Yeah. So the best throw of the season.
No, that Raiola one into the window against
for a key.
Top throw, but top throw of the day, TJ Lateef. Take a bow to Cortez Mills.
Well, let's talk about what we liked today for Nebraska football, and I'm going to talk about the defense. And I liked some of the things I saw defensively, schematically. Not at least early on, a lot of leaky yards, fellas. You knew that Houston Christian was going to try and run the football. Nebraska ready for it. You had active linebacker play. Watson Trent got in there a few times. The edge was set. There was penetration. Nebraska ended up, I think, with 4 tackles for loss and a couple of sacks. You were hoping to see some of those numbers. McCullough with a sack. Then Popple on cue with a big-time strip sack that Winery picked up. And I love seeing, 6'5", 260-pound defensive ends going Walter Payton with the football, and that's palming the ball. That's their T-Rex in their way to the end zone. And then, I better cover up as I get to the goal line. But Nebraska getting a defensive score. You had a sweet punt return late in the ball game by Mosey. But overall, Nebraska, and I loved how the secondary, specifically Singleton and Buford, were flying downhill. Corners were active. Thought Vincent Shavers continued to do bad things in a good way for Nebraska fans. And I thought the defensive line played better today. I thought they played quicker. I thought they were really pretty good at the point of attack. You look at the total yardage numbers, the rushing numbers were non-existent except for that 45-yard touchdown run. You saw a step forward this Saturday from the defense, and you've seen steps forward since week 1. You put it all together, big-time challenge. Again, we'll underline and highlight next Saturday about this time.
You're already talking next Saturday, Schmidt.
I'm ready to spend the next hour and a half on next Saturday.
Yeah, but before we get there, though, it wasn't all positives today.
Okay, get your red pen of death out.
It's a little early. I was going to say we can get to that. Well, I wanted to start with the positive. I do want to say the defensive intensity in the second half team seemed to take a step back. Houston Christian was not a good offense. But you saw some of the tackling and some of the intensity flying downhill. It wasn't like it was against Akron. That is one point of concern. That touchdown play, you should have had a shutout today. Make a tackle in the backfield as you should, and that wouldn't be an issue. You hope Gabe Moore is all right. But it wasn't perfect. Offense kept it moving pretty well. You got to see 4 different quarterbacks today. Lateef looked great. It's I'm making the sandwich. Good, bad, good. A lot of good. The defensive intensity in the second half was the one thing that concerned me just a little bit, but you also understand it's a hot day. You're up by a lot. Houston Christian's not very good. I'm sure Matt Rule to be a point of emphasis from him, but I did see a little bit of intensity wane in the second half. You didn't see that last week.
Well, and it's you got to pick your spots when to lay it on thick with your team. He knew to push a button last week, got him focused and right. They came out ready to try and dominate. Good work. The only thing you can really gripe about, again, Dana will gripe about this, is you got to settle for 3 in the red zone to start the ball game off, and then you get stopped inside the 5 towards the end of the ball game. He'll no doubt focus in on that. I thought the perimeter blocking was really pretty good, and I thought the perimeter blocking allowed quite a few yards, fellas. As right now I'm watching a nice stutter step by Underwood as he dances into the end zone. This guy's pretty dynamic. Oh, that's right. We got to wait for a little bit. There's a moratorium, 10 minutes of Houston Christian talk before we get to Michigan, Nebraska next week. But, hey, Nebraska's 3-0. The defense was good, the first 2 units for sure. You like Lateef. You like what Dylan did. And the run game continues to look nice as they're right around 6.5, 7 yards a carry in totality. And Tim Bob, I know you'll appreciate this being a football guy. How about the old counter tray? They kept running it left. They kept running it right. They'll run it left. They'll run it right out of the shotgun as they had the big old hosses out there with it was convoy time, and you saw a lot of lanes for Ives to run the football and pick up plenty of yards.
Well, and in that one counter tray that they pulled, and it was pretty right into the boundary. Good patience by the back, waited for that kick out, waited for that lane, and then shot through there. I mean, that's good line play, but it's also just good patience by the running back. I was really happy with the efficiency of the offense when they came out. I mean, they, other than the field goal on the first drive, and I felt like maybe Dylan kind of gave up on that one play, tried to just made the decision to throw it away instead of trying to force one in there, which is what I'm sure Coach Holderson wanted him to do. But overall, I mean, the efficiency of the offense on those drives, it looked like they were in tempo, in rhythm, run the ball, pass the ball, throw where they want to, open receivers, had a couple of drops. But overall, I was really – that's the way you're supposed to come out and attack a team that you're that much better than. And that's what you would expect and what you wanted, coming off of last week victory.
By the way, guys, here, we're 10 minutes in. We need to welcome Caleb to the show. His first ever Real Red Reaction show. So we welcome Caleb to the show. Caleb, I know you have someone patiently waiting on the line.
Yes, we have Steve joining us.
Steve, thanks for the call. Welcome to Real Red Reaction. Go for it.
Yes, this is Steve from Lincoln. Chris, Elijah, and the whole crew, you guys do an A1 job. Chris, question from 2 Saturdays ago through this last game. What area, in your opinion, has the Husker football team improved the most upon? We want to hear it from you.
Steve, thanks for the call. It's got to be red zone, right?
Where you need to see the most improvement, or you've seen the most improvement?
Well, did he say what I need to see or what I've seen? I
think it was where you've seen the most improvement. You need to see more improvement out of the red zone.
I need to see improvement in the red zone. What I've seen is probably just overall balance in the run game. I mean, the defense has gotten better. They've tackled better. They were good after the quarterback today. It's hard to tell, though, isn't it? I mean, they look better against opponents they're supposed to look better. It's not Nebraska's fault. They're on the schedule. Nebraska's done their job. And where are they better? I think they're pretty efficient on offense. I think we've seen some explosive plays. They've gotten better there, Steve, with explosive plays. They forced some turnovers here the last couple of games. That's a good thing. Special teams has been pretty dynamite all 3 games. So those are my leading candidates. From a what do they need to get better at? It is red zone for me. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate you tuning in, Steve, here to the Real Red Reaction show powered by Slim Chickens. What do you say, Elijah? Let's go around the horn. Caleb, what's your take? Tim, Bob, your take. Elijah, start us.
Yeah, I'll dive in here. I've seen improvement from the defensive line against inferior offensive lines, to be fair. But they looked a lot more today like that hell on wheels defensive line that Coach Butler and Coach Rule talked about through fall camp. Again, you got to qualify it. The proof will not be in the pudding until they face an offensive line like Michigan has. But I've seen those guys flying around, making plays, looking like they're thinking a little bit less. Ty Robinson, what a play to shed the block and force the fumble in the first half. That guy, not Ty Robinson, Riley Van Poppel. They look kind of the same.
That'd have been kind of cool if it was.
Kind of cool if it was.
He kind of looked like Ty Robinson on that play. The way he darted inside, shed the block, came around the corner and forced the fumble, and then Winery, what a play to scoop and score. Like, that's going to get all the love, but it was Riley Van Poppel making a great play inside. Deshaun McCullough has been a force from the outside from a pass rushing sense. I think the emergence a little bit of some of those guys in the interior, Gabe Moore being one of them, has helped out. I just think that defensive line looks markedly improved from what they were against Cincinnati. That being said, I think Cincinnati's offensive line was a hell of a lot better than what they faced the last 2 weeks. But success breeds confidence. I think it's a more confident defensive line than what you saw in game 1. You just hope that confidence translates to the Michigan game next week.
Caleb, what do you say, man?
Sorry, the question was, what do they need to improve on, or what?
What have you
That's
seen?
the way I heard it. That's the way I heard it.
What do they need to improve on? What do you think they've improved on? Let's go both ends.
Well, I think the obvious answer is the red zone efficiency. I brought that up after the Cincinnati game, and it hasn't been – it's been marginally better, but it definitely needs to improve when you get into conference play. Multiple possessions, I mean, even inside the 5-yard line that aren't getting finished or result in field goals. That needs to change when you get into conference play. But what they have gotten better on, I'll echo Elijah on what he just said on the defensive line, and then also – Raiola just looks like really comfortable back there with his receivers and has a genuine connection with. It's not just one or two guys like I felt like it was last year. I think you can throw to literally any of these guys and feel comfortable with them in open space, making contested catches, and making a play for your quarterback. So I've really enjoyed the efficiency of the offense until they get to the red zone.
Jim Bob, what do you say, bud?
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple things. The red zone, of course, and one of the comments in the feed I think is right about leaky yards in the run game. Those are things I'd like to see improvement. Of course, that defensive line. I think the linebackers have played better in the last 2 games, and we lost a lot of experience there of this season. Not just the offensive line, but the linebackers as well. So I think that front 7 overall is going to have to continue to improve, and Michigan's going to be a test. What I like is the dynamic plays down the field. We saw some of those, saw some long plays, some catch and run, which we haven't seen. We haven't had the ability to take the top off of defense and make it worry about going deep. And I know it's been a concern, but we haven't seen that. So that's probably the thing I'm most excited about, being able to throw the ball down the field and force that secondary to react, and that opens up a lot of things. But the leaky yards, running the ball, and the goal line defense or goal line offense, I should say, are the 2 things I'd be most working on this week.
And to your point about the linebackers, it looks like that crew as a whole, and I think Merritt helps his emergence. They just seem to be playing faster.
Right.
Not as much thinking from that linebacker core. It still hasn't been perfect play from them, but you just see the way that they are. It's less thinking and more read, react, and go hit somebody. And I love to see that from that linebacker core.
489-1240 to get in. Real Red Reaction. We're with you till 4 on KFOR, KFORnow.com. Also on YouTube, the Average Joe Sports Show channel, Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. On Twitter at KFOR Radio and at AJ Sports Show is where you can find us on Twitter. Jay, this is a good take when it comes to what you can like about this football team overall, fellas. That's the team's speed. Nebraska's speed has been an emphasis. Rules tried to recruit that, tried to bring that in. They look pretty fast, pretty furious the last 2 weeks. And team speed overall has been on the uptick. It'll get tested next week. Captain, you are right on. It is Michigan week. 24-hour rule for everybody else. We can move on to Nebraska. Black Hills Brennan says, I'm not as upset that we gave up a touchdown as that we didn't finish the TFL. That's fair. You had Jalen George right there, and he needed his buddies to stay in their lane and finish the job for him. But you're seeing, for the most part, a lot of bodies around the football. NASCAR Eric, good point, and you made it too, Elijah. Second half was just kind of meh defensively. Vic in Denver checks in, says good win, looked a little sloppy, make that sleepy to start, got into a groove. Looking forward to seeing what happens next week. Andrew is in the stream. Brian Snitley is observing and is wondering, did Raiola tweak an ankle, foot before half? Don't know. Not sure. We'll see if Rules asked that in the postgame. Our old buddy JP is going to send us that postgame audio, and we'll have Matt Rules' comments here a little later in the show. Mike in Cali says Ives looks slow. I want to say this about Ives. You know what we talked about with the defensive line, fellas, how initially it looked like they were thinking a lot. Well, it still looks like Ives is not completely yet getting down to. I think he's a faster back. He's not recruited. He doesn't come to Nebraska unless there's some D1 type athleticism you've seen based on who else Nebraska's recruited. Okay. And I know he's a Barthel guy. So it's nice to be patient and wait for your backs, but he may not have the acceleration, the second step acceleration, comparatively speaking, to some of the other backs there. I thought he did a better job today, though, for the most part, of reading his blocks, because he was out in that counter, and I mean, he was getting 7, 8, 9 yards, Elijah, before he got touched. Now, maybe another back, they break that for a touchdown.
You got to credit the offensive line. They had a really good day today, as they should. I did a good job following their blocks. Then he was a load to take down. That was the one thing that stood out to me. Are we surprised? I mean, did Mekhi Nelson have a single carry today?
I don't think so. And I think Mosey only touched the ball, like, it wasn't a handoff. It was a little screen pass.
It was a banner day for Ives. I'm glad to see him out there. I was surprised how little we saw. And Mosey, great punt return, by the way. Don't want to let that go by the wayside. But from an offensive point of view, I was surprised with how little we saw Nelson and Mosey, especially considering they're younger guys that don't have many game reps. You would think of this as being the time to go out there and get some game reps. They weren't really anywhere to be seen today. So that was a little bit suspect, a little bit eyebrow raising for me, but you got to give credit to Ives. His best game as a Husker, unquestionably. Loved what you saw from him. I was more excited than I have been in the past for Ives with what he showed today, just because he looked so difficult to bring down. The stiff arm was nasty. The vision looked solid. I was pleasantly surprised with the work he put together today.
7 yards a carry ain't too shabby for Ives either. So
no. Are you guys, what's your guys' take on what we saw from Nelson and Mosey today, which was not all that much? Is that, you wouldn't think it would be keeping him healthy for later in the season? Is it just a guy in Ives that, hey, you haven't had many touches either, so let's give you some chances? I don't know. I'm surprised by how little usage they got in the offense.
I think it's a couple of things. One, it is Ives is their bigger back. They want to get him in the flow. They want to see what he can do. And this is a game to put miles on him. And I think a lot of it's keeping, maybe it sounds stupid here, but why show any more film of Nelson or Mosey? You know what Emmett's going to do, right? But let a little mystery still exist with some of your game plan offensively. I mean, Michigan's going to be worried about Key. Michigan's going to concentrate on Hunter. They're going to try and light up Raiola and figure out where they can attack the offensive line. And Emmett's going to be a focal point offensively. So you got some periphery that you may need to make a play for you. And keep a little bit of that under wraps. Maybe they didn't have good weeks of practice. I don't know. I'm just throwing out A, B, C's, and D's with your multiple choice for this. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to just keep the parts of that kitchen sink they need to throw at the Michigan defense fresh and healthy, or at least a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah, I don't know one way or another, but my gut feeling is just, Coach Holderson is just like, I'm going to go with the guy that I feel good about. I mean, he sometimes it sounds like from, post-game interviews is, that's the guy that was, rolling and I was going to run with him. And he's kind of that kind of a coach, right? And he did it against Cincinnati and, was more comfortable maybe with Ives in this game, the way he was running. And just, he's a little bit of a, I think, have all the planning and everything, but still a little bit of a gut instinct. I'm on the field and that's the kid that I'm going to keep running. But that's just speculation.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but coming into game one, he was the number 2 back, but was injured in practice, had an ankle injury or something.
Out of spring. I mean, the talk was Ives because you didn't know what you had. I mean, they were in the process of the transition with Mosey to running back, and then you're waiting for Nelson to put it together, but he got dinged. You had a guy like Mekhi Nelson have a good camp and then kind of leapfrog him. Now, you're not supposed to lose your job to injury. That being said, you got to go with who you got, and Dana's a big trust guy. I mean, think about early in this game. One of the things that led to 3 instead of 7, if you ask Dana, was a lack of perimeter blocking by Hunter. And Dana lit him up, just crushed him on the sideline. And then you really didn't have that problem the rest of the game. And Nebraska didn't have to settle for the most part, except for that final drive with red zone. But I think, what do you think Nebraska can lean on in the red zone? Are you comfortable? Push comes to shove, they're going to be able to just power it in, be it Emmett or pick a back, or that to me is a big time question and a conversation piece to get into already, because the red zone's been fine. Nebraska's been good with explosive plays. I think you'll have to hit a few, quite frankly, next week, but push comes to shove, you better be getting 7 instead of 3 next weekend. And against that defense, do they know what they're great at in the red zone, or have they just thrown a bunch of plays here these last 2 weeks to try and figure out what their bread and butter is?
Dare I say Nebraska's best option in the red zone has been TJ Lateef with the ball in his hands? Dare I say him rolling out and having that option, he could either throw it or he could run it. He's been the guy that's been the most threatening down in the red zone. I do wonder, and I said this week on the show, whether Nebraska, I know you want to be a ground and pound physical football team, whenever the field gets compressed and the other team is expecting the run, packing a lot of guys in the box, Nebraska's offensive line has not gotten the push that they have in open field whenever there is still the threat of Nebraska airing the football out. Is that a bit of an indictment on the offensive line? Yes. Is that a bit of an indictment on the play calling as well? Yes. I don't think Nebraska's strength in the red zone is lining up, 8 guys going hat on a hat and saying, we're going to be bigger, stronger, and tougher than you and powering it into the end zone. That has not been Nebraska's strength, and that's not the strength of their running back either. So I wonder, about Nebraska airing it out a little bit more inside the 10-yard line. And dear God, please don't let that be a fade route. Let's get some crossers or something, maybe some play action going.
Give me a jump ball, but not a crazy fade.
But I also wonder about some, hey, let's get some special packages with TJ Lateef and let him get the ball in his hands down in the red zone, because through the last 2 games, he's been the most dangerous option Nebraska's had down there.
I would speculate that in terms of special packages, you'll probably see Herbel, under center, and some plays like that more likely. But I would, as far as covered, I'd give the ball to Emmett. He seems to be able to find the end zone, have an instinct for finding gaps and getting in there. I know he's not your power back, but if I got a trust factor, I'm going to go with Johnson.
Now, we'll see if Nebraska is able to spread it out in the red zone and run it in, or just get it handled in the passing attack inside the red zone next weekend. So far, so good, though. A 50
wait.
9-7 win.
Caleb, you had a thought in the red zone offense?
I was just going to echo Tim Bob a little bit. I think you could use Herbel as sort of like a Taysom Hill sort of archetype player. Line him up in that sort of way, get him the ball. Because right now, like if we have 4th and 1 and we need 1 yard, we're at the 40-yard line late in the game. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where you line up and who you give the ball to. So that's just a concern for me is short yardage, things like that, and especially in the red zone is if you're on the 1 yard line and you're going to score a touchdown, who do you give the ball to?
Well, my mantra. When the game is on the line or you need to pick something up, I am a big proponent, almost always in football, of getting the ball to your best player, your most explosive player, whatever it may be, and letting them go make a play. Nebraska's best offensive player is Dylan Raiola. So I know I was just saying something about TJ Lateef down the red zone. I wonder if you can use that in packages, but I'd like to see the ball in Dylan Raiola's hands down inside the 10, inside the 5-yard line. Let him go make a play. I think Nebraska is more dangerous as it stands right now inside the 10, inside the 5, in the air than they are on the ground. When the defense knows the run is coming, Nebraska has not had much success on the ground in that facet. So I'm a fan of getting the ball to Dylan Raiola and saying, hey man, go make a play, go fit it into a tight window, go find Luke Lindenmeyer in some matchup nightmare. I don't hate the idea of Nebraska throwing the football inside the 5. I know the old school football purists would have an aneurysm if they saw Nebraska line up in shotgun. I'm not opposed to Nebraska lining up in shotgun outside the 5-yard line because of the way it stretches the defense out. And it makes them fear, you know what, Dylan Raiola, he's going to be throwing this football here from out of the shotgun. It even opens up some run lanes for you.
I'm just saying, it's 30 minutes in. Can we officially shift to Michigan now? I'm just checking.
No,
Just-
shortly.
We got a commercial break coming up here in like 3-4 minutes. After that, we'll shift to
After
all right.
that,
I'm
it
just trying to
is,
get my
it
train
is-
of thought right here.
as the old, Chamber of Commerce for the state of Michigan used to say and beat us over the head with radio ads, pure Michigan. Okay, right after this 57 break. You know what you can do though? Presumably, you want to be able to run the football inside the 5 and smash mouth it. But the good thing about Dana and his offense is he is good at outflanking you in that part of the football field. And Emmett's good at sneaking out of the back. Now that's going to be a focus for sure for Michigan. I'm breaking my own rule. But Emmett is good at getting out of the backfield and catching it, the short pass as a run in the red zone. That's something Nebraska can do. You'll probably see more 2-back shotgun formations next weekend, and just get your dudes on the field. Dion is checked in. Nice to have Tiger Shark in as well. Your comments and thoughts. Did you lay the points, or did you take home another winner today? Nebraska 59-7. What was that? Did the line?
Don't tell us you bet the shutout again today.
I did not.
Oh,
I had a feeling there was no way we get 2 in a row.
59-7 though. I mean, wasn't the line? What was it?
I think it closed 45.5 or something.
That's right. It was almost half 100, and Nebraska hit it for sure. 59-7. Bama all over Wisconsin. They just toyed with whiskey. Oregon slept walk and still did their thing, and then 55-yarder from Georgia Tech at the buzzer over the Fighting Dabos and Clemson.
And if you want to tail the Elijah Herbel hot streak right now, I have A&M covering against Notre Dame, but Notre Dame winning. I have Miami pretty much blowing the doors off of South Florida, covering that 17.5-point line. And I have Georgia winning and covering against Tennessee. So that's the Elijah Herbel tail. I've been on a hot streak, and I also have Bud Crawford winning on a decision in the 12th round, that fight that goes the distance. So I've been hot recently. That's how I'm feeling for the day. If you believe in me, you can take your money to the Warhorse. Don't take mine.
Are you still, brother? Are you still doing tortilla soup tonight?
I got leftovers, so I might. I was more thinking about doing some nachos.
Okay, probably a better call with the temperature. Let's do a quick timeout. More thoughts from you, more reaction in the stream, and can find us on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio, and also on KFOR Radio, the Average Joe YouTube channel, and the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens, 14th and Pine Lake, 84th and Old Shady. A quick timeout. More thoughts. We'll turn to Michigan next here on KFOR and KFORnow.com.
Guess who's watching Rob Finnerty on Newsmax? President Trump is. He even says Finnerty's show is so terrific. Millions are joining President Trump to watch Finnerty every night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. All this week, Rob looks at the media's war on President Trump. Rob gives you the facts about the National Guard in cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. He tells you the real truth about the Jeffrey Epstein files, and he reveals the big media's agenda on Trump's health. You need to watch Rob Finnerty on Newsmax. Check out your local cable system. Newsmax is on all major systems. Or download the free Newsmax app. It costs you nothing, and you can watch in minutes. Finnerty is the fastest growing primetime news show in America. Find out why even President Trump is tuning in. More than 40 million Americans go to Newsmax for news they can trust. Because we are real news for real people.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour.
I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're gonna be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SAFE25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SAFE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SAFE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code SAFE25.
What would you do if you had a little bit more money to do it?
I'd go to law school.
I'd open a bakery. I'd travel to visit my grandparents I haven't seen in 10 years.
We all have things we want to do in life, and there are people who want to help you do them. So how do we best ask for that help? GoFundMe, the #1 fundraising platform. No matter what your goals are, GoFundMe helps you take an important step toward them. Start your GoFundMe today at gofundme.com/radio. That's gofundme.com/radio. This is a commercial message sponsored by GoFundMe.
The question isn't, can you hear me now? The question is, can you see me now?
This is a commercial message sponsored by GoFundMe.
The question isn't, can you hear me now? The question is, can you see me now?
This is a commercial message sponsored by GoFundMe.
The question isn't, can you hear me now? The question isn't, can you hear me now? The question is, can you see me now? How many times can one honestly say they didn't see the motorcycle coming their way? The highways and roads are for everyone to share. Stop, look twice, check your mirrors and blind spots. Please take a moment to be aware. It can save a life. Please join Abate of Nebraska in making 2025 safe and enjoyable for everyone traveling our busy roads. This life-saving message brought to you by Abate.
This is the Real Red Reaction Show. Phones are open now. 402-489-1240.
Back here with you at the Single Barrel. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, YZ in studio. Tim Bob and his Football Cave. Can find us on the air, KFOR, KFORnow.com. YouTube with the Average Joe Sports Show channel, the Real Red Reaction channel. On Twitter at AJ Sports Radio, at KFOR Radio, and phone lines open if you are on your way to get a cold drink somewhere. We invite you down to the Single Barrel to do so. Whiskeys and beer and whiskeys. How about a steak? You don't have to stand over a grill to deal with on a hot, muggy day. We will turn our attention to Michigan. We will hear from Matt Rule. Should we have some ominous music with Michigan's bounce back after hard-fought but a little too much foam offensive performance against a really good Oklahoma squad, at least it looks like right now. They fell last Saturday 24-13, but they got off the schneid. They took the training wheels off, fellas, with Bryce Underwood. He was 16 of 25 for 235, did throw a pick, did throw for a score. But old Biff said, brother, let's let the young man run it. 9 for 114, 396 yards. And we're talking 6.9 a carry and eight rushing touchdowns for Michigan. The pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, the original Average Joe, has arrived, and he is not sweaty at all. That's a miracle. Fellas, but knee-jerk here with what Michigan did today. YZ, start us off.
They did pretty much what Nebraska has done the last 2 weeks and took care of a team that they should take care of. And after a huge loss, which we talked about it on the morning hookup earlier this week, Michigan doesn't have a lot of room for error left in their season. And so this game coming up against Nebraska is a huge one for us. And I think it's even a bigger one for them, not having your head coach going on the road. So I think, like you said, they took the training wheels off. That was my biggest impression of when they played their first couple weeks. The offense was very manila. They threw a lot of, short bubble screens. Maybe that's trying to get your freshman quarterback acclimated to to college football. But they, like you said, this week they allowed him to be a little bit more free, I think, and it showed on the scoreboard that it was successful. So we'll see what their game plan is coming into Nebraska, but they took care of business this week, and like I said, we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. They did what they were supposed to do against an inferior opponent. I do think for Michigan's sake, it's good that they're letting Bryce Underwood run the ball as much as he did. Through the air, it still looks like he needs a little refinement. Michigan's going to have that film from Cincinnati pulled up of how Cincinnati took care of Nebraska with a running quarterback, how they really exerted their will offensively. So Nebraska's going to have to be ready for that. They're going to have to be self-scouting them just the same as they're scouting Michigan, understanding where Michigan's going to try to take advantage. You need pass rush lane integrity. If you're in Nebraska this week, you need to be repping that all week long. Hey, sometimes it's better to keep the guy in the pocket than it is to get a sack, especially with a freshman quarterback and as experienced as your secondary is. Sacks are awesome, but hey, if a guy is failing to deliver the ball from the pocket, let's just keep him in the pocket and make him beat us with his arm. That might be the game plan for Nebraska next week, as opposed to let's get this guy on the ground and take a 7-yard loss. But Michigan did what they were supposed to do. Just the same as I am not going to overreact to Nebraska's defensive line looking better the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to overreact to Michigan's rushing attack running all over Central Michigan. They should be running all over Central Michigan. So we'll see how things go next Saturday, but I don't think you're going to take any massive takeaways from today, aside from the fact that Biff Pogge's a little more willing to let his quarterback run the football from a design quarterback run point of view.
Kevin in Texas, sad for Archie. That's pretty good. You have Jay indicating that is the stash in danger next week if Michigan wins?
No, it's 10 games. We've talked about this.
I'm just making sure, just getting clarity.
If Nebraska wins 10 games, the stash will be going.
That'll be weird. Can't do it. Can't do it. We're gonna just say you had your fingers crossed on that whole wager thing. We had a comment from Just Common Sense earlier before we went to break, and we bring on the Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman. Bill, Steve called in earlier and said what he's liked from Kansas City to now, biggest area of improvement, and then biggest area Nebraska needs to improve in. And I think the red zone thing is still a little bit of a question mark.
Well, I don't know what you get out of this game, because I think that's the most overmatched opponent I have ever seen come to Memorial Stadium.
Ever?
Maybe ever. Nebraska was kind, I think, to them and understood that. There was more of an edge last week to Akron. And again, I think it's because we paid him $2 million to leave during a rainstorm. I thought Nebraska was very cordial to Houston Christian. Everybody knew it was going to happen. It did happen. I think it could have been worse. It did remind me, I bring up the Pacific game so often when Nebraska played them in the early 90s or late 80s and gave them a big check for, I don't know, probably then $500,000. They took it and dropped their program. They were just completely overmatched. And so we talked yesterday, if Nebraska, right now is 106th in sacks. And if they get 5 sacks today and that moves them up to 50, into the top 50, what does that mean? I don't know what you necessarily take statistically away from this game and say, wow, that is impressive. 540 yards of total offense, 500 plus back-to-back weeks. But I think they are functioning in the way you want to see them play. I don't think they're making a ton of mistakes. You're talking, look, if there's one area they got to improve on, is being able to kick off the ball and placing it inside the 5-yard line for the receiver or the return man to receive it and not kick it out of bounds.
Well,
that's where they're falling most short. You can't score from the 5, and you can't place the ball on a kickoff inside the 5. I don't know what Mike Eckler's doing.
Tim Bob, you seem puzzled.
No, trying to get my progressive lenses right in the stream, because they're getting the big blue reflection, so I'm looking kind of blue-eyed here. Anyway, I agree. I forgot to admit the kick out of bounds on the kickoff. I'm sure we'll have Coach Rule a little upset. You can't.
That's what I'm saying.
Is that three straight games?
That's 3 of 5 kickoffs for the kid.
I'm more accurate with my 9-iron from 90 than they've been to place one inside
to the other fairway.
Well,
That's where it was meant to go.
You just got to adjust your towards as long as you know you're going to pull it, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
He's got to get his towards adjusted a little more to the middle of the field.
Can Archie kick off? That's the real question here. He hasn't been in the game the last 2 weeks. Did he practice on the sideline?
He got in today.
It's been Hull.
Archie got in the game today.
Did he?
He
was walking over. My fault.
He dotted the I in the victory formation.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Legitimately?
Look at you.
Yeah, he dotted the I in the victory formation.
Look, Mom, you saw me play at Memorial Stadium.
Yep.
But
give him a handoff.
When I watched when they sent him in, it looked like the last scene in Rudy when Rudy's on the kickoff and he's like, "What should I do? What should I do?" Archie kind of looked like that. What do I do? Where do I go?
We have kind of moved on to Michigan, Bill. 63-3 over Central Michigan. Underwood, 114 on the ground. Haynes, 104 on the ground. Michigan over 600 yards total offense. Nearly 400 rushing, 6.9 per carry and 8 touchdowns. Are you quaking?
No. I think Nebraska is operating at a high level. They look, a couple of years ago, in a different era, Nebraska played a team from the Southland Conference that took one of Amir Abdullah's best games as a Husker to save them against the Southland Conference team. I remember coming up and watching them, beat South Alabama by a touchdown and lose to Georgia Southern. So you should beat teams like this 59-7. Be nice when they leave, and give them the check and make sure it clears. But look, Nebraska eked out a win over Cincinnati. Should have won by more, didn't. And then they beat Akron with some type of vengeance on Matt Rule's mind. They did what they should do against Akron. They didn't fumble the ball away or fumbled the game away. I mean that kind of metaphorically. I mean, all phases, the last 8 quarters have actually looked really pretty good in the way that defense is supposed to attack. They scored their touchdown on kind of a fluke missed tackle, and they scored on that. That stuff happens. Nebraska's fumbled once, I think, in 2 games.
Yep. In the red zone,
and that was Emmett Johnson. But there weren't a ton of silly mistakes. So I think the last 2 games, Nebraska's played the way they should have played, won the way they should have won, and now you say, okay, everything gets tougher from here on out, so you just continue to do what you're supposed to do during these 2 exhibition games.
And one thing to note here with these 2 games is, can you take a lot away from Nebraska's performance specifically? There's no concerns with the defensive line. There's no concerns with the linebackers. Look how they play.
Always going to be concerns.
It's not that. But what you can take away from these is that Nebraska, with good reason, will be going into that Michigan game with a lot of confidence on their side. They took care of business the way that top 25 teams are supposed to take care of business in these 2 games. If you look at it in the micro sense, no, we're going to find out a lot about this team next week against Michigan, how much better they've gotten since Cincinnati. But you do know, based on the success they've had in the last 2 games, it will be a confident team that is riding high going into Michigan, which means good things.
Well, can we say that? Let me just say this real quick and then jump in. That may be what this team has needed all along, is belief, right? Sorry to go Ted Lasso, but they've put it on film. They've won. They've done that now 4 games in a row after letting things slip away. And it doesn't matter who it's against. You can feel good about yourself and going, man, I'm doing self-help here. But you can not be overinflated. You've been tested with adversity while Rule's been your head coach in the games you've won and the games you've lost. But you're seeing it work, and you're being dominant. Maybe all this team's needed is confidence, and as long as they treat it as just another game, not the mother of all barometer games around here for the first time in a while, maybe it'll be okay next Saturday. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, the thing for me is we've had 3 games, and we have 3 examples of what Nebraska teams haven't done in the past. They've won a 1-score game, and they've taken care of 2 teams that they should have taken care of. For me, that that breeds a sort of different confidence. And I mean, you went after yourself a little bit, Schmidt, but you were right with the word belief. That's probably what this team needed heading into week 4 against Michigan, which will be probably one of your biggest games of the entire season.
It's a statement opportunity.
Let me just throw this out there.
Should Rule go to Vegas tonight? Yes.
He is going to Vegas tonight. He's got a plane. He's probably gone already. And he's flying back tonight, by the way. So speaking of fights, that's where I was going to go with this. I think Nebraska has been very assignment sound the last couple of weeks. I'm sure people have graded very high. There have not been glaring mistakes other than the missed tackle. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a big fight in Las Vegas tonight.
Yes, there is.
Bud Crawford's fighting Canelo Alvarez. It's in all the papers. You should have heard about it. Nebraska's had sparring partners the last 2 weeks. And
good call.
Okay, so next week they've got essentially a championship bout, we'll say. But how good were your sparring partners? Did Spence come spar with Crawford, or what I'm saying is, did you have a highly ranked fighter that comes in to get a big fat paycheck, and is going to give you good sparring rounds day after day after day after day, knowing that guy in a real fight's not going to beat you? But did you have a good sparring partner for the last 2 weeks to get you ready for maybe what you could say is a playoff elimination game? So you've got a big fight next week. What was the quality of your sparring partners in training camp, which is what this really is? So those folks who are thinking fight, Nebraska's had 2 sparring partners, and now they've got a big bout next week.
You got your work in. How good was the work? I.e. the sparring partner, just common sense back in the stream. And you can dial up here at 489-1240 with Real Red Reaction. Thoughts, early thoughts against Michigan, or reaction to what Nebraska's done against Houston Christian. Nebraska's season starts now. We will know how good the Huskers are after the first conference road game. Good start, but we've seen fast starts turn into losing seasons. That's true too. I think there's a different mentality with this team, and I'm really anxious to see Dylan and this offense operate against a team of Michigan's ilk on that stage. How do you handle the pressure? You had pressure in Kansas City. It was a different pressure, though. It was most of the state migrating south against a team that you left the door open for. That was hammered home. Don't ever leave the door open or unlocked. Nebraska football per Matt Rule. You've not done that the last couple of weeks, but it is going to be a buildup. It's a talking point. It's a barometer. It's a statement. It is it's a temperature check for what you're trying to build. Now, it doesn't ruin you if you don't get it done, but you got to look a certain way in the process of it.
I mean, another reason for optimism is it's not just the team that's amped up. This fan base,
you're feeling good
since about halftime of last week, has been like, all right, get me to Michigan. Even folks I was talking to this morning, leaving the Single Barrel, it was, oh, you guys going to be here for the Michigan game next week? We're looking forward to Michigan. It's people are juiced about that game. 2:30 prime time, whatever it is. The stadium's going to be rocking. It's going to be a tough road environment for Michigan. That Husker team is going to feed off the juice of Memorial Stadium. It's a reason for optimism. Does it mean Nebraska's going to win? No, they still got to go out and play well. But there's been a lot of games in the past that this fan base has willed Nebraska to victories. In the last 10 years, not so much. But this is the type of team that can live off of that energy and can make it really, really hard on Michigan all day long.
There's people leaving the stadium. I was telling you about.
If you're going to beat Michigan, this is the best opportunity you're going to have. Right, they don't have their head coach with them. You got a freshman quarterback. They've lost to Oklahoma. They've got some questions. You've got them at home, as you said, with that crowd. If it is probably Nebraska's best chance in a while to knock off of Michigan and take that step forward. So if they don't, I think they're missing a real plum of an opportunity.
And don't apologize for what you're getting next week. Isn't your fault that You know, it was Spygate 2.0. It's not your fault they're going with a freshman. It's not your fault they got a biker gang leader look-alike with no sleeves on named Biff leading them out of the tunnel. What you have is a chance. What?
Wait a minute. Okay, he can lead them out of the tunnel, but if our guy wins tonight, don't you think that somebody's going to walk out of the tunnel next week with 4 belts around his waist and
Completely,
neck?
yeah.
And that you talk about not since. Look, I'm not a big tunnel walk guy anymore, but not since Tommy Frazier, Mike Minter, and Tom Osborne walked shoulder to shoulder down the tunnel, kind of stoically, to beat Colorado before the Colorado game in 1994. Can I imagine what it would be like if Bud walks out of the tunnel? Oh my God! I mean, those guys. Look, I know Michigan's got Tommy Hearns, but those Michigan guys are probably kind of fanboy a little bit. Like, dude, that's the pound for pound.
Do we think Rule walks to his ringside seats tonight in Vegas wearing a mink coat a la Magic Johnson?
I want him. I want him to go American Gangster. I want the chinchilla tonight.
We were down on the field before the game, and Rule was walking around the stadium, and he had Bud Crawford. There's a few of the Huskers had Bud Crawford T-shirts on, and I do know that he is taking a flight to Vegas probably now, and we'll be in the arena and back in Lincoln tomorrow. But I mean, can you imagine if Bud Crawford leads Nebraska out onto the field next week?
That'd be pretty awesome.
Holy smokes. Game over.
We'll get some Matt Rule comments here coming up. Real Red Reaction. We're going till about 4 tonight. And don't forget Sunday Live Average Joe podcast on YouTube tomorrow at 10:30. Walter checks in. Good point, Walter. Nebraska +4 in the turnover margin, as that's important. That'll be important next week for sure. But I wonder if, and you hope so, if you're a Nebraska fan, Nebraska can enjoy the moment next Saturday. That's why you're doing all you've been doing, is to get to this moment and many more opportunities. But go just out there and cut it loose. Have fun. Don't play tight. Don't be tight. That goes for both the quarterback and also the coordinators. I mean, don't overthink it, man. Just go play ball. Michigan, despite not being what they were 2 years ago, they still have dudes that have been in these moments a lot, and they've ruined people's seasons. And ruined the hype up tape because they've just come in and done their demolition. Think to 2 years ago. Guess what? Sunday night practice, fellas, because it was 45-7. You are scared of the moment. Don't be scared of the moment. And I don't think Nebraska will be, but just go settle in. Figure out a way to do that. Dana's been in these games before. Rule's been in these games before. Butler at the NFL level's been in these games before. There's not a ton of guys on the Nebraska roster that have been in these games before, though.
Don't you kind of equate, I guess I'm saying this because I do, to last year's Colorado game?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, there's a lot of hype going into that game last year, and the crowd was juiced like they will be, and Nebraska responded. Neither team showed up for the second half, but, you had Colorado, you had Dion, you had Shador, you had Travis Hunter, and Nebraska met the moment in the first half, dominated the game, and Colorado never did respond, and Nebraska then played down to their level in the second half, and it was boring for the last 30 minutes of the game. But if you can just go back, can Nebraska match the moment of a big game against a big opponent? Colorado won 9 games last year, so I suppose you could kind of equate that. And look, if Matt Rule gave his speech last week, and again, I don't think you can do that again, but if he was upset that his players didn't take it personal, that Akron didn't respect you, they're throwing against you at this, they're not taking a knee, they don't respect you. Okay, well, take down all the mirrors in the locker room going in so nobody can go preen in front of the mirror to see how pretty they are. I would remind them that you talk about not respecting. Their coach disrespects you so much that he's going to take the day off. I mean, yeah. I would use that.
Good call. Absolutely.
Right? They don't
just
respect
Nebraska, Bill.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to coach against Central Michigan, and I'm not going to coach against Western Michigan next year. Nebraska. Okay, those 3 games. They've chosen 2 directional Michigan schools and Nebraska that Sharon Moore's not on the sidelines. If that's not somewhat disrespectful, that can only take you so far. But to me, it's much more disrespectful in that regard than Akron trying to throw the ball at the end of the first half last week.
489-1240, 489-1240 to get in here on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Both locations for you to check out this weekend and beyond, 14th and Pine Lake, 84th and Old Cheney. No, I think you're right about the matching the moment, and you can lean on last year's Colorado game. But I think the build-up for this is something pretty cool for Nebraska. Nebraska also peaked a year ago at that Colorado game.
No question.
How do you keep moving forward? But a lot of season left, but it gets real. We talked a lot about Arrowhead and Cincinnati. How does that thing happen? It worked out for you. You hung on. Didn't need to be as tight it was. You've warmed up here a couple of times these last 2 weeks, and here comes Michigan. From what you've seen, Elijah, I wanted to get your thoughts. You too, Tim, Bob. Just the glimpses you've seen of Nebraska, of Michigan. You think Nebraska matches up from a physicality standpoint on the lines of scrimmage? We've talked offensive line and defensive line for Nebraska. We've seen Michigan's front line, and they got with it. They looked really good, especially their back 7 against Oklahoma. Their front got after Mateer at times, and the offensive line did enough. It was really, quite honestly, young quarterback play that limited them last week in that environment against that defensive coach.
Well, can I just say broadly here, more than just physicality, Nebraska matches up with Michigan. I think in the lines of scrimmage, they match up. I think from a skill position point of view, from a quarterback point of view, like there's places where Nebraska has the advantage. There's places where Michigan has the advantage. Nebraska, from what I've seen, has the pieces in place that they can go and win this football game. Will it be close? Yeah, probably it should be. Michigan's still a dang good football team. But from physicality to offensive line, defensive line, wide receivers, quarterback you got, the secondary room that you got, you match up with this Michigan team. You have all the pieces that you need to go out and win it. So I don't even need to circle in on the offensive line and defensive line specifically, because I have confidence Nebraska is good enough there. Are they going to go dominate Michigan in the trenches? That would be a surprising story to me. But Nebraska's good enough to match up there, and they got other pieces elsewhere in the team that I think they can go take advantage of some of Michigan's weaknesses. Does Michigan have things that they can take advantage of Nebraska, such as their quarterback's legs? Yeah, probably. It's going to be a close game. I assume the line's going to be close for a reason. Last I checked, the early line was Michigan. -3, yeah. Feels about right to me. Nebraska's got the home field advantage, so if they go win that game, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. Nebraska matches up with this Michigan squad.
Tim, Bob, what's your early thought, bud?
I don't disagree. My question is, is that X factor of that young quarterback and the defensive backs. I agree. You're probably going to be better off to keep him in the pocket. Nebraska has a history of struggling against running quarterbacks. Cincinnati being the latest example of that. So I think you're going to want to keep him in the pocket and make him read that secondary. I think the secondary of Nebraska's, the strength of Nebraska's defense is that secondary and some of those exotic looks. So I think this game comes down to, can you make Underwood look like a freshman quarterback, as some teams made Dylan Raiola look like a freshman quarterback last year? Can you make your defense put him in pitch situations he hadn't seen before, make him maybe turn the ball over, maybe force him to make a mistake and get you a short field? I think that's, to me, what it comes down to is how that young man plays and how Nebraska's defense makes him play.
Our own Big Red on an all-red Saturday is on the line. Justice Rohde, our Real Red Reaction correspondent, is checking in.
Wow.
Justice.
Life from berries.
Stay out of the sunshine, my friend. How are you?
Guys, fellas, listen, I'm doing great. I got to tell you what, first of all, that game looked exactly like Nebraska versus Houston Christian should look. They laid the sledgehammer down for 4 quarters. How about 5 bills and change for total offense, holding Houston Christian to just 160 yards? Listen, guys, Quentin Ives looks like a hammer. That guy is a load, 120 yards rushing. You want some backup running back production? That's the guy right there. Listen, I love what the offensive line was able to do against a team that, frankly, they showed road grade. Okay, it looked like Scoop, Muck, and Dizzy from Bob the Builder. I mean, they were just cleaning house and building shop. Listen, when I look at Michigan next week, I know you guys were previewing it. I know Tim Bob kind of broke down that Bryce Underwood's the X factor. Bryce Underwood can be an X factor, guys. After even watching the game against Central Michigan, I'm not convinced by their wide receiving core whatsoever. Those guys don't separate at the second or third levels like they're supposed to. They're good in short to semi-intermediate routes, but they really don't beat anybody off the line. I love what Nebraska's secondary is going to be able to do. It's just going to be that defensive line. I still got some concerns taken away, but yeah, love the total offense. Love the Latif to Cortez Mills. Nice deep post a la Malachi Coleman a couple of years ago. Love that connection there. But yeah, I think they got something going at the backup running back group. I got to see the D-line do it at a more consistent basis. And I don't love Michigan's wide receivers, guys. I don't love them.
Justice, have you called Mr. Miyagi to go see Gabe Moore?
Oh, I've got some people working behind the scenes, working some mystical, magical arts, maybe a little wax on, wax off with some salve. But no, Mr. Miyagi has not been called in for old Gabe Moore.
Hey, I'm wondering, what chapter did I teach you where you sound like somebody who's ready to apply for a job at Veasan or with Danny Burke? I'm waiting for you to start dropping parlays and exacta numbers and, lay the points. Tony, like he's Tony George's nephew.
Feed the bear.
He's like Tony George's nephew or something.
I like it.
Yeah. Good call, though.
Justice, appreciate you checking in, brother. We'll see you next week. And thanks for the research on Houston Christian. God bless.
Hey, take care, fellas. Enjoy the win.
That guy is really talented, by the way.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Good dude. Happy to have him. We'll get to Matt Rule comments. We'll take a timeout. And half hour. The shot clock is on. If you want to chime in the stream, more from you. Can also dial up 489-1240 for Real Red Reaction. Tim Bob Kitsmiller, Elijah Herbel, Caleb, Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury, Chris Schmidt here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate 9th and P. And 489-1240, Slim Chickens powering your Real Red Reaction show. 14th and Pine Lake, 84th at Old Shady, a timeout. We'll hear from Coach Rule on the way here with Real Red Reaction on KFOR.
Definition stereo.
This is the good stuff.
Listen in your HD radio equipped vehicle at FM 106.3 HD3.
Listen to this.
Keeping Nebraska connected
everywhere
with over 100,000 watts of HD power.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033. Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Progressive knows we all crave validation.
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin. Terrific.
Is something wrong, Ned?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliate. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Back at it Monday on KFOR, Schmidt, Carol, and Jeff.
A recap of the football and volleyball from the weekend. What will we know about the Charlie Kirk shooter? Touchdown trivia for tickets to the Michigan game, and Get Set, Tech, Go.
We'll talk at 6 on KFOR.
KFOR.
Michigan game.
Get your thoughts on now. The Real Red Reaction Show is unfiltered at KFOR.
So we're at the Single Barrel. Chris Schmidt, Bill Doleman, Real Red Reaction via remote. Elijah Herbel, Caleb in studio at KFOR. Tim Bob in his football man cave. Tim Bob, I got to ask you, dude, what football memorabilia do you? Because it's kind of blurred out behind you, so I don't know if it's kind of a locked area for you, brother. A good football dungeon, dare I say? What kind of football memorabilia does Tim Bob have up in his basement?
I don't have any. This is my work area. This is ensconced in my basement, but I've got so many divided loyalties. It'd be hard to put them up there between Nebraska. I've been here for 25 years now. So
well, I mean, you can have your K-State, your Sooner, your Husker Wall.
That's what I'm saying. I got a lot of divided loyalties, and of course, being a mound builder from Southwestern College, I do have a ring in here from back in the day from conference championships. So that's probably the biggest thing I got. Got to fear the black cat, fear the jinx. Mound builder. That was the mascot, if you don't know.
Hey, speaking of that, have we broken down the fact that Nebraska broke the 40-year jinx of the All Reds?
We haven't yet, but I feared we were going to.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're going to go alternate uniforms, I've been asking for All Reds since '86, and they did it. Jinx is over.
Now we get to it. If you had an hour 12 into the show, you too were a winner.
All right, let's break the all-red curse today. Let's break the all-white curse against Minnesota here in a little over a month, and then the blackout. Also, it can just be a season of curse breaking. How about that? This was the sure bet, though. You were sure to break this curse today.
Yeah.
If Houston Christian won today, dear God, the fan base would have revolted over wearing red at all moving forward, I think.
But along those lines, and you were mentioning this earlier, that people are feeling good and they're ready. Okay, let's move on. If Nebraska's 3-0, okay, I think the 20-17 Cincinnati is probably forgivable. It's a Power 4 for wherever that matters. Big 12 team. But if they had beaten Akron 31-14, 31-17, something like that, that would have been uneasy. If they had won today, and again, I think they called things off clearly because the starters didn't play the second half. But if Nebraska wins today in a cordial way, 38-10 or something like that, and Nebraska's 3-0 going into next week, people would be uneasy. But we're 3-0, but I'm not liking it. Even though you played two overmatched opponents the last 2 weeks, again, I go back to sparring. Were you sharp? Did you land the punches where you're supposed to land them? Did you have opponents who gave you a good look? You're going to fight a champ next week, and I know they're not champions like they were. But if it had been closer games the last 2 weeks, I don't think people would be feeling near as good about 3-0. But the way they dismantled with vengeance, Akron, and doing what they did today. I think that there is reason to say that they should feel good about what Nebraska's done so far.
You know what the fan base is like, and I kind of started the show off, fellas, talking about just things, sights and sounds, right? Sights and sounds leaving the stadium, end of the third quarter, heading this way to the Single Barrel to get set up for the post-game show. And, you know, we were hexed, you know, air quoting a couple of fans about finding ways to lose games, and a couple of, you know, not quite freshmen, but clearly not ready for the heat and humidity with the amount of pregame they decided to take on. So they were stumbling around Stadium Drive. And then you had a couple of older fans that had seen the war, said, we better bring it this week. And, you know, the Hex conversation, too, was bantied about as you're just walking along 10th Street to get over here to 9th and P. And, I mean, it's all covered. It's all a talking point with the fan base, with where the journey that's been and what Nebraska has in front of them now. So it's pretty interesting to soak it all in. And it's like the beginning of Major League, where you have the construction guy. These guys are bleeping terrible. The two Asian folks, these guys are no good. The grounds crew. And you go through it, and then by the middle part of the movie, they're not too bleeping bad. I mean, that's where the fan base is migrated to as you get on the doorstep to Michigan here next Saturday. And that's how I draw it up, and I've seen it move from all sorts of excitement with Kansas City, and then you're like, all right,
the fertilizer's different.
A little bit.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
Should we hear a little bit from Rule, or what were you saying, Elijah? Go for it.
Is this also time for us to say fare thee well to Tim Bob?
Tim Bob, appreciate you jumping on, brother.
Thanks, guys. Right. Thanks for letting me in.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you much. Good to have Tim Bob with us. Tim Bob Kitsmiller, can hear him different calls with the KFOR Sportscasters Club. Caleb in, YZ, of course, you hear him on Morning Hookup. Elijah Herbel, Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury, Chris Schmidt. And let's go to Matt Rule. Let's hear from Coach Rule, and I'm sure there'll be some Bud Crawford thoughts as well. But without further ado, the Husker head man on the big-time win today over Houston Christian.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. Obviously, a good day for us. I respect Coach Bechtel, that program. I thought they played hard. They competed. They found a way to get in the end zone against us. That was an excellent run by their player. I thought we were efficient. Clean ball game, not a lot of mistakes. We were able to get a lot of guys to play in the game, and I'm excited about that. So great way to end non-conference play and get ready for conference play. As an aside, you know, we called this week Operation Blood Moon, anxious to get the alternate jerseys in there, the all reds, which the guys really wanted. So happy to do that. Really appreciate the crowd, the people that were there. It was a hot day. Appreciate them staying all the way to the very end, and really excited for Terrence Bud Crawford tonight. I want to wish him the best. So with that, see what questions you have.
Was that your hope to just get two good quarters from your top unit today? And what would you say about those guys in the first half?
Yeah, I mean, I legitimately go into every game like it's going to be a war. I think when you do that, you don't ever get in there and say, oh, shoot, you know, I wasn't ready for a fist fight. So I was ready for a fist fight. But that being said, I'm happy that we were able to play those guys and then get to the half. You know, we scored 38 points, you know. Just not happy with the last drive on defense and the last drive on offense. 2-minute drive, and that is something that we're going to need is the 2-minute offense. So we'll have to go back and look at that. But I thought beyond that, we were extremely efficient and tackled well. Looked like we were physical. You know, we played the 2 defense and the second to last drive on defense. You know, put the whole group in, so we were able to get them in early, and that was really, you know, just as much just the heat, and we have good players on that group, so we need to get them to play. So a lot of guys got to play a lot of snaps. You know, TJ Lateef, you know, I think that's a golden day for him, right? To be able to play that many snaps. Cortez Mills to make that big play, catch that many balls. Isaiah Mosey, all those guys. So it was good to get a lot of guys real reps. You know what I mean? Like in the second half, coming out of half. A lot of times, like last week, we put the ones in to start the second half, And this week I thought, what does TJ need? He needs to be sitting in the locker room. What are those guys? All those guys are in the twos. They need to be sitting in the locker room like, hey, I'm going in. Like, have that time to think about it. And then they had to go out and perform. And we got the stop on defense. Then we went down and scored on offense. So I was really happy to see that.
Man, I know that it wasn't perfect, the non-conference season.
It was, we were 3-0.
Yeah, but yeah, well, on the field. I'm sorry. But how happy are you about what progress you made about moving into the Big Ten season and where you guys are at?
Yeah, I think you take everything with like a grain of salt, right? Like, I mean, we haven't played the caliber teams we're going to play. But all you can do is measure yourself against, where you are and the standards that you have. I thought we played an excellent game. The first game in a lot of areas, or some things that just, and some of those things are still showing up, like the field goal on the first drive, and our ability to push the ball through the red zone and all that. So we're going to continue to have to get better. So I don't think it's great. I'm not a big, sometimes you hear me say the word like narratives and all that, but I think that's true for coaches. Coaches, sometimes we have narratives. Oh, we're doing this well. Just take it, watch the tape. This is good. This isn't good. And then some things that look like they're good right now aren't going to be as good versus, a different opponent. So, you just have to keep reacting as the year goes on. I think we're obviously a significantly better team than we have been. But the road gets a lot harder. If we stay where we are right now, we won't win a lot of games moving forward. We have to improve. And so this was improvement from last week. I thought the week of preparation was excellent. I said that to you guys the other day. I said, we'll have to wait and see how the game is. And I thought the focus on Friday into Friday night wasn't always elite. After I had said that, it was kind of and it was really more young guys. And I thought the older guys, I have to single out guys like Sierra and Marquise and Deshaun and the whole O-line and Dylan, kept bringing it back to, hey, this is the standard that we have. And, I thought a lot of guys did a lot of really good things. So we have a long way to go, but, to be 3-0 and to play a Power 4 team and dominate the two teams we're supposed to dominate, that's all I can ask for the guys.
Is that what you thought Quentin Ives had to offer coming out of the spring? He was highly regarded. I know he had the setback in August, but is he now where he hoped he would be in the game?
Yeah, and I have to go back and watch a lot of it. The interesting thing is in all three games, we've had the other teams have tackled us really low, and we don't tackle low. So I think we've had a hard time reacting. This week we did a lot of drills where we were ball security drills, punt return drills, where we're throwing bags at guys' feet, trying to simulate. There's not a lot of low tackling teams in the Big Ten. And so I'm anxious to see how exactly, I'm going to watch this film here probably about 10 minutes. I'm anxious to see how exactly all of that looked. But I thought you saw a lot of production out of out of Quinn, and I thought he caught the ball really well. And Quinn, unfortunately, he hurt his hamstring in the summer, came back and then hurt it again in camp. So he was stuck behind, a bunch of really good players. But, with Mosey having to go out to the slot, and he's kind of playing like that two-back stuff with him. But so he's not full-time there anymore. Quentin's gotten an opportunity, and he's done a good job. And he gives us a big back and a big presence. So I'm anxious to see, him continue. But I think he's a starting caliber player in the Big Ten, and I've always felt that since he was a freshman. It's just been about, we've had some pretty good backs in Ramir and Anthony Grant and a lot of guys, and so he's just had to wait his turn. And when he gets an opportunity right now, he's doing a nice job.
Was Makai Nelson available today?
Yeah, Makai was my decision. He was available to play. Makai's a wonderful young man, but we have some standards. But I had him available. I didn't pull him out. I was going to, if we had a couple injuries, he was going to play. But I wanted those other guys to play in front of him. And once the game was out of hand, there was no use putting him in there. But I would have played him if needed.
Coach Butler had talked about this week. He didn't really care about the shutout. It was more about playing into the standard. Obviously, you probably have to watch the tape a little bit. But did it just feel like on the field the defense played mostly this day after today? Yeah, I think anytime you score on defense and, you make them punt that many times, I think that's excellent. We had some times where, we had some soft coverage and we gave up some throws. I don't know how many yards they ended up with passing. 68.
So I missed three weeks in a row of under 100 yards passing. Sierra did a great job moving into the slot and playing the nickel, which let Donnie and Marshall go outside and start. And then Jameer came in, played well. So I thought, for the most part, a lot of those things looked good. You hate the one long run. We had him tackled in the backfield and he reversed out. If the guys trust the things that we say, when we might say track the near hip, I might say that more than I say go big red. And we didn't track the near hip. And so we got burned on it. And so that'll teach us something. But I thought the guys came out. I'm sure there'll be lots of things, when you pick the film apart. But for where we were and for the opponent we played, I thought they played pretty well. We tackled pretty well. And we got to the quarterback today, which is good.
Is this a
situation where, you're going to enjoy this one for 24 hours, and you get a sense your team's really ready to flip the page at Big Ten?
Yeah, they were. I mean, Dylan was talking about doing his Sunday workout today. I asked the guys, I told them I said enjoy it, but to show up tomorrow ready to go. And again, I'm going to make it very clear. It's not about any one opponent in the Big Ten. We're now in Big Ten play. Like, we played 3 non-conference games. We're a proud member of the Big Ten, and it's a challenging conference with a tough schedule. We're going to play a lot of great teams. We have to show up every week and improve. I mean, the first thing we have to do is improve before we even get to the game. And so, I think the guys will be ready to go tomorrow, and we'll have another good week.
I know you expect Dane Key to produce plays, but how nice is it for him to have a 100-yard day kind of going into the Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, and last week, Isaiah got off early, and Dane really didn't get his first catch till late in the game. It's just kind of how, however the teams play you. I was really happy. There was a severe wind down there. I mean, it wasn't as severe as it can sometimes be, but to hit that deep ball into the wind, I thought was really, really important. And good to see Dane catch the ball and have the catch and run touchdown. So, we have a bunch of guys. Corey got off early. So we have a bunch of guys who can catch the ball and make plays. Good to see Cortez make a couple plays. So, and you see the way we're trying to play here. Before the game was kind of decided, it's 3rd and 1. We take a shot. We're trying to throw a post for a touchdown. They defended it. So we throw the outcut to Mills. So, I mean, I think I don't know if anyone will, but people should. I think they should appreciate the way the quarterback's playing, the way the receivers are playing. We're getting open, we're catching the ball. What was Dylan today? What was it? 15 of 21. We had to throw a couple away. So there's some things we have to improve upon. I hate the way our scramble drill looks right now. Like, we have the quarterbacks that are running around and no one's getting open. I was losing my mind on the sideline on that. So there's some things we have to continue to improve upon.
Anything else, Coach? And about that defensive touchdown. And how important is something like that in this grand scheme of things? And I did see you go up to William after just about the I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I yelled at him. And I told the guys at halftime, how great is this? We're up 38. And and I didn't yell like I did last week, right? But I walked in, I said, hey, guys, was the end of that half good enough? And they were like, no. And I said, how great is this? Like, we're down 38-0, and you guys aren't satisfied. Williams, I said, William, how many touchdowns have you scored in your life? That's his first ever touchdown. And that guy's one of the most amazing athletes I've ever seen. It's his first ever touchdown. And he's went off the field. He's going. Because, the guy was running to punch the ball out. And I said, how great, how special is what we have? I don't know what the final record will be at the end of the year, but I love this team because they aren't just beholden to the results. They're like always trying to get better, and they understand, like, hey, there's a standard. And so if we don't do it, but I was proud of him. I was happy to see him score. I was happy to see all the different things that happened today. And, we got another fumble. Derek Wacker looked like made a great play down there. I mean, Wacker's a really good football player. So, there was kind of the concern I had too, just for the record, was that the walk-on program would die. The walk-on program might die with, the proliferation of the 105 roster and all that. And Derek Wacker, man, that thing's alive and well. He's starting on our kickoff return and, forces a fumble. And so he's an excellent football player. So it's good that, we got a couple turnovers and scored on defense. We scored on defense last week, scored again on this week, and great teams score between, 8 to 12 times, 11 times. I think the all-time mark here is 10 times, and so obviously that's really hard to do, but it's good to get one in there. Okay. All right, thank you guys.
Matt Rule post game here on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens, 14th and Pine Lake, 84th at Old Shady. Chris Schmidt, Bill Doleman here at the Single Barrel, 9th and P inside the Graduate. Elijah Herbel and Caleb YZ in studio. About 5 minutes before we sign off with Real Red Reaction. So you have a early shout out for Nebraska, Michigan, do it. You have a quick reaction to Nebraska, Houston, Christian, do it. Guys, let's wind it down. And Elijah, that was glorious Twitter work at Herbal Essence. As you've got the American Gangster Chinchilla I mentioned. And poof, there's a screenshot of Matt Rule superimposed in Chinchilla. Thank you, Elijah.
Thank you, Elijah Herbel, Tech Master.
That is wonderful. You've looked busy throughout this Real Red Reaction show, and now I know why. That's good stuff. But who gets the game ball? And we'll start off with you, Caleb. Who are you giving the game ball to? Offense, defense, special teams? Pick somebody.
Man, put me on the spot.
Thanks for giving me some time to think, Schmidt.
Yeah, I've just been so impressed with Dylan for the entire season, and So I'll give it to him for this game as well. Just like Rule said, he went 15 for 21 today, and a couple of those were passes that he had to throw away. So he's been really efficient. He's been super relaxed back there, not forcing anything, getting the ball to his guys in space. Dylan's been very impressive so far. So my game ball goes to Dylan Riola.
Mr. Elijah Herbel.
I mein, despite the fact he wasn't really in the stat sheet aside from the one splash play, do you go Williams-Nwaneri? He splashed on that one play. I didn't.
How about Van Poppel?
Forcing the play. I mean, it was just a good team effort. I think Dane Key, with his performance early in the first quarter, kind of giving Nebraska some life. He's got a good argument. But you know what? Here it is. Archie Wilson, for being a good team player, being excited for his teammates on the sideline, apparently dotting the formation in the V for the victory formation. Game ball, Archie Wilson. We haven't got to see you, but you're still doing great work, son.
Nebraska's defense showing up, 8 TFLs, 3 sacks. That's something you wanted to see, but you know what? My game ball is going to go to TJ Lateef.
Okay.
And I like the fact that Lateef was 5 for 5. I like the fact that Lateef, into the teeth of a brutal wind, hit Cortez for 60. And I like Lateef's confidence in the red zone with his feet to also get a rushing touchdown. As nice as Dylan is and was, for sure, I'm going to go with the backup because this is back-to-back games he's come in and given us a wow factor when typically it takes a while for quarterbacks to get acclimated. He's doing it right. Nebraska's training him right for whenever he's called upon. Bill?
Well, I was going to go with TJ Lateef, but I'm going to save my opinion for tomorrow morning's Average Joe Sports Show. So people can tune in for that. And I know you'll be waiting all night and probably not watch the Crawford fight because of it. But I do have thoughts on TJ Lateef. A couple of people come to mind. Cunanan has been incredibly consistent as Nebraska's place kicker. You know, there was questions last year. Well, there were no questions. It was just flat out statement. Nebraska can't kick. Case in point, the Indiana game. Doesn't matter that they got beat 56-7, but they were like, we got the ball at the 20-yard line. We just have to go for it. And now it's there's a lot of nostalgic feelings with some of these wins. Like, well, this takes me back to when Nebraska beat New Mexico State 68-0. And this takes me back to when Nebraska beat Pacific. And Saturdays were like this all the time. But you had kickers that were pretty automatic, and Cunanan has been pretty automatic, if I do say so. So he would be one. He could get the kicker ball. But Ja'Cory Barney, amazing. I mean, that guy has been put in some pretty difficult situations to catch passes, and he has. So mine goes to Ja'Cory Barney, and he got a touchdown today.
All right. 10 seconds left here, so we got to get out.
All right. Find us
10 seconds
on the Average Joe Sports Show tomorrow, Sunday live at 10:30. Thanks for tuning in to Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens.